All right, it's April 1st, and this must be an April Fool's joke, is the AI Sprint report. When the last time they came on for Star Citizen Live and talked about AI, they talked about how the NPCs were standing on chairs, and they still stand on chairs. So this must have been some kind of joke, but we're going to watch it anyway. So an hour and 4 minutes of AI in Star Citizen. So here we go. Very excited. I had my cam box off. I was recording something.
Welcome to Star Citizen Live, the AI Sprint Report. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour out of the end.
I like the lighting.
Of our week, hang out with some developers, and talk about this project that we're all working on. On this week's show, we're doing something a little different. We're bringing back a
I feel like every week he says we're doing something a little different.
An older format that we haven't visited in a while, called the game dev format. That's where we're actually going to hang out with the developer. And
I didn't see game dev was in the title.
Work. So whereas most of Star Citizen Lives are generally
these are the
talk
worst.
And discussion, this will be a much more visual Star Citizen Live than normal. And this one specifically is a follow-up to yesterday's Inside Star Citizen. Now, if you haven't seen yesterday's Inside Star Citizen, you should absolutely go and check that out. That's what we do, where we did what we call a sprint report, which was another format that we hadn't brought back in a while. A sprint is when we use agile development for game development. Sprint is where developers go off, they work for about 2 weeks. In our case, it's 2 weeks, but the length of a sprint can change depending on the project. They go off on their own for 2 weeks. They come back, present some work to everybody. People give notes, people take notes, and sometimes they go, okay, that's done.
Thank you, Karmic Joke.
Another thing, or they say, okay, I'm going to go back and continue on this for another 2 weeks and come back later. Inside Star Citizen yesterday is where you saw the sprint work of a bunch of teams: the Interactables team, the Environment team, the ships team, stuff like this. What we did not include yesterday was a bunch of stuff from the AI team, because the AI team has had quite a few productive sprints over the last.
Sure, but we never see the fruits of that labor, unfortunately. That's basically the weird thing about AI and Star Citizen, right? Every monthly report, man, these AI are doing all these crazy things. And then you log into the game, and they stand on chairs, do nothing, don't react to you in bunkers and stuff. Now, with that said, I have joined 30 FPS servers on live. I have joined 30 FPS servers on the PTU, and they are they're weird. They don't feel real or good, but they are more snappy and extremely accurate when shooting. And it is kind of scary. I don't know about the ship ones, but the FPS ones are pretty scary to fight against. And besides that, though, they're just like really like kind of aim lock onto you. It's a weird experience. So I have not seen like all of the cool things that you see in those monthly reports, but maybe they'll show some of the fruits of that labor here. It's just in the actual engine, in the actual game, on the servers, it just never seems to come together.
Quarter. So what we decided to do is instead invite
I think it will eventually.
AI director Francesco Riccucci to the show. Fran, how you doing?
Hi guys.
You doing?
All good.
Fran in our Frankfurt studio, and basically we're going to give him control of a computer and let him play some internal developer reviews, videos, and basically give us sort of director's commentary. Not sort of director's commentary. He is a director. That's absolutely director's commentary. Now this is to mimic the type of review that we actually do internally. So on this week's show, you were...
Oh, this is my favorite thing. I don't know why I can't stand this. It drives me nuts. It's like you're getting another look onto how game development works, guys. So exciting.
We're going to see a literal example of the exact same kind of reviews that we do internally every single week. But instead of presenting to the various directors of the Precision Universe, he is going to...
You know what they need to show us internally? They need to show us when they make the very start of a ship, how they decide whether or not ships should be in the game for sale for in-game credits or not. based on how long they've sold them for. We should be in on those meetings. Those are the ones I'd like to see.
Present to you, the Star Citizen community. So with that,
GPAC, yes,
Fran,
it is.
let's see if the computer is working. Is the computer working? Do we got that going?
If I try to move my mouse,
All
you
right.
can see the mouse
All
running.
right.
So
So
I think I just like a small additional information from my side, right? A lot of those, as you said, a lot of those videos are
Oh my God, we have an extra thing that says internal review now.
internal videos recorded directly by the different developers that worked on these features, right? So some of these builds are, local builds with files that might not be perfect. So you would see some glitch, bugs that we might have already fixed. Future, follow up.
This will be a big one.
builds.
Perception of
So,
vehicles,
course,
very important.
Keep in mind that one, and I think it's cool because you guys can see how we work on stuff, how we review the things, and then of course you will see some of the bugs that we also usually have while we work on the features.
Stiletomo 2 says, "Oh my God, this isn't live because video is recorded being shown, but shown live." Exactly. Yeah. So where do we start today, Fran? What are you going to show us?
I would start with the perception of vehicles. So
yes, most important.
Just move with this one. So
go ahead and double click right.
I'm sure they'll explain it. Reason why it's most important. Have you ever done a mission where there's NPCs outside now, just on the ground? You can just point your ship guns at them and just shoot them all, and it's just dumb and boring.
In the middle. There you go.
So basically, first of all, again, this is our like a test map that we would build. What we had until now was there was a different perception, not a different perception, but usually vehicles could perceive vehicles and NPCs could perceive.
I'm assuming that bubble is sound.
Our perception system is based on senses, so they could add and use different senses. For example, characters have a radar; they could receive radar information. I would just lower a little bit the volume because it's just my headsets otherwise. And what we tried to combine here was basically the work related to perceive from audio stimuli related to vehicles, but also visual stimuli. So what happens here is like, of course, we have a definition on, for example, how far a character can see for other NPCs. When we are talking about vehicles, the information is slightly different, right? So a large vehicle can be seen from further away, being further away, and ground vehicles maybe a smaller. They can be seen at a middle distance. So what we expanded here is,
should small arms pierce shields? Probably.
It's a lot of work that Andrea has been doing. So basically, there is a lot of information about the vehicle propagating its presence to possible observers.
Oh no, this is a good point that Marcus is making. So turrets at bunkers will see players on foot too? Maybe. That's a good question. I wonder if we get to ask questions on these because we never get to anymore, which is kind of annoying.
Based on the size.
Not at the extent that we used to.
What you see here is these little spheres that are around the vehicle are audio stimuli that gets generated, and those are dependent on, for example, the strength of the thruster. So, the strong is the energy that is put into the movement. The further away some of this information is perceived. Of course, these are. Being an internal video, what you need to imagine is that also the back throw is made in a way for us to test the things. So you see this sphere that you might think, say, oh, maybe it's just too small or it's too big. But this is just purely for testing the system. And some of the lines you see here, for example, is visual perception. So you see that they perceive right now the vehicle as well, but it's basically it's obstructed. And they try to attack the target. Basically, now NPCs can actually query also vehicles as targets. They can select it through our selection system of targets and attack it. And also, of course, based on their weapon, they will be more or less effective. In this case, it's more like a cinematic moment where they try to attack it with a rifle. It's not that they can really damage the vehicle, but they do react and they try to perform their best action.
The other thing that they might not show that was in the monthly report was that these AI that are just holding P4ARs are now able to use railguns as well. So yes, they can perceive that vehicle. Now they can also aim and shoot a railgun at it.
So the red lines are.
So now your ship
they
becomes.
know it's there, but they can't see it. The green lines are they
the
know
players
it's
on the
there,
ground
and
become
they
a
can see
threat
it.
to
What are the
ships
blue
in the
lines?
air.
So there are different ones like for also like there's some information related, for example, if they're friendly, if they're not, if they're enemies, that different type of information, like the last position. Some comes basically some colors comes if the last position comes from visual information or from audio information radar and stuff like this. But like the other thing that you see here is like there is this information at the center that also tells you when was the last update from Vision, for example, for the Vision, because we try to
Hey,
be
King, thank you.
distributed to not. In this case, there are 4 guys, so it's not a big deal. But like when we have 2,000 characters in PU, we also try to distribute a bit better the updates, but also still getting it because, for example, with the one thing we changed some time ago was about when we would get perception update based on the frame rate of the server. This one now is more with the entity system component, we could expose how many kind of ticks update we could get between the different updates. But now with this, what we call the AI scheduler, where now we can specify better what is the time frame in which we try to get this update, and we still try to distribute. So of course, the frame rate is too late, too small. Still takes a little bit of time for them to get all updated, but not as much as it was before.
So
there's also a different priority based on, the guys that are close to you and the one that are in a fight and something like this.
So obviously there's 4 guys here, and as soon as the vehicle comes by and generates enough sound, that's the big bubble that you're seeing. They're like, okay, we're aware of
scheduler
the
is
ship.
next level
the
tech.
ship flies around, and then they get visual.
I mean, it's all cool stuff, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't work when we're playing with the game, right? So I have a really hard time like just being hyped up about stuff like this.
On it, and they see it.
This is all cool to look at and go, ooh, okay, yeah, wow. But it doesn't matter if I'm watching it in a video. It only matters if I'm watching it on my client in a game.
Ship comes back around, and they lose visual.
It only works if there's
3
no
of the
chairs in the
guys,
vicinity of the NPCs. Yep.
3 of the people
I'm
go
good, Lolly
and
Browns.
start
Thank you.
moving around the building to find it, but one of them doesn't. What's the difference in behavior there? Is there some randomized element of this? Is there?
Yes. So there is.
I see 3 are going.
Different. There are different things.
Why is that
So
one
first,
staying?
that one specifically, I cannot tell you right now, but I suspect that this is about the timing that we use for the TPS queries.
Cannot
So
tell
what is
you
a
right
TPS
now.
Query? TPS query is a query in the environment, because I don't remember, just to give you some context, I don't remember if in this video they were
'Cause he's
running
stupid.
exact combat behavior or if they were just running a test behavior that Andreas made for this specific video that I can't remember in the detail. I also don't remember when he is exactly this video from, because this is quite an old one, let's say, compared to the thing. So
I just think that guy's dumb.
It could have been also just a bug there for that guy. But basically, in theory, it's like what we do is that we distribute the query requests for what they should do, and also not everybody can actually try to move based on different traits. One thing that you see here is like, first of all, the one that you were describing, when they perceive it, they have a bar on top, right? So the perception of hostile still goes through the new changes we're doing for Squadron, where based on the intensity of the stimulus, basically, the bar goes up and they only recognize the target when the bar is fully, into the different states. So they have different reactions, right? You can have like, what was that? Or it's like, oh, let me go investigate, or let's go full in combat. When it's ready, go full in combat, right? And then, of course, it scales down, but it's less important once they are already in combat, the back through.
So that guy at the end, you just decided it wasn't
That guy,
his problem.
I suspect that there was some.
GW Gloria in chat is full on April Foolsing. Dev will not fully start until they have all the new hires in the new studio.
His behavior is my suspicious. And then he ends up going into the tactics that he's actually trying to move and position himself in a where he can see it, basically. This is why it's probably not moving. But
what's next?
It's just my suspicious. So what's next? Let's go to, we can show a bit of the trolley and elevator work. So these are another things that Daniel has been
I respect the hustle, Lolly Browns, but I got a pro.
What we want
that does my art. I'm good.
Allow the NPC to basically navigate through the environment exactly as a player would do, right? So if we have elevators that connect multiple floors, and the NPC wants to go from one floor to another. Now they understand this connection. So what we use as a transit manager, that is both elevators or actual transit.
This is like seeing the monthly report in action.
Basically create a potential link. That means that even if there is no mesh
Thank you,
connection,
Lumen
the
Ghost.
NPC knows that they can basically move from one floor to another. How to navigate to that floor comes from the movement plan. And in this case, you see that he understands there is a connection. He goes close to the elevator. He leaves the trolley. In this case, he pressed the button. Once he pressed the button, the elevator comes. You understand that the elevator is coming because then there is new navigation links that it will pop.
You're also professionally banned.
Here,
Get out of here.
he leaves the trolley. He goes to the console on the side of the elevator that has like a little button. It's not super.
Gave you an
visible here.
opportunity
It's
to
like a little console there. Then
be
these
normal.
blue links, the green ones, are basically connected to different zones, the elevator to the external zone. Then he can find a path here, understands that he needs to wait, and press the new button to go to the floor that he wants. And then basically the elevator tells us when we reach the right floor, because multiple people could be there. Also, the player could be there and pressing some other buttons, so the elevators could stop at different
they
floors.
move from one mesh to the other, the mesh to the.
And then they move to the next mesh, yes. As you see here, there are two things interesting. Here is the usage of the trolley, despite this little jiggling that you see, that, you know, this is one of the bugs that we're working on. But NPC now can actually use the trolley as the player would. They are really connect to that. They really use the state machine, correctly.
The little bubbles is kind of cool.
And then they can also inject. These are big change that we've done in the past year. So basically, any dynamic path can get additional information from the environment. When we path through environment, we can actually understand, is that, is the door closed? Should the door?
Is this the Reclaimer elevator or Grimhex elevators? Neither. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. This maybe looks like Hurston or Crusader, like hospital elevators.
Or be pushed to a button.
Right.
Should be pushed forward.
Brentworth is the hospital in Crusader. Yeah.
Or being open. Is the door itself having this panel, or is the panel somewhere else? Right. Because we also have other situations, for example,
Microtech, maybe.
You might turn off the light.
I forgot.
He understands that, right? And he
the
needs
names.
to investigate. It's what we call, the.
It's a hospital elevator, though.
And for the NPCs, so they can resolve that, so they can understand that the light they've seen going off can be turned on from, a console somewhere in the level. So this is all like systemic, basically.
Yeah. So we do have to move on. We're a quarter of the way through the show already, and we're only on our second video. I do have to ask before we move on, though. How do we know how afraid this AI is before getting on the elevator? Like,
how afraid?
Of the elevator killing him. There's
it's
it's
not that afraid. This one now it's a very strong sword.
Not impressed with this AI.
He could be afraid,
He's not afraid because he's being played on their servers. When it's the servers we play on, maybe he'll be more afraid.
Could have a trait that is a bit more cowardly, and then
just want to see some. The AI should hesitate just a little bit before they step on board.
The funny part is we could actually do it, because with traits and those navigation links have actually information about which type of navigations they are. We can add even different costs. So maybe if somebody's afraid of using the elevator and there is a stair or a ramp, he might prefer the ramp, not using the elevator. So we can actually set up those things.
So what's next?
So next, I would go to these other improvements that Marius has been working on. That is the extension on the navigation code to allow overrides. So we have two use cases for this one. One is
that was smooth
environment where
it joined the ladder pretty smoothly.
Different type of agent size can navigate, but with a specific stance. In this case, it's with crouch stance.
And left it smoothly as well.
Events.
You don't see that a lot in games, right? Like the elevators in games get pretty like AI or players kind of snap to them and then snap off of them. That was smooth.
So, a normal player understands that he can navigate through, right? But the regular navigation mesh will not generate.
That could be like Squadron 42 polish there with some of that stuff.
So what we have here is we can create overrides.
Very smooth.
Agent types and say what are the new sizes that should be used for the voxelization and the generation process. And then we have specific navigation links, as you see here, both the ladder, but also this crouch to stand at the end of the vents.
It's moving faster than the legs are moving, though. You notice
Allow
that?
the NPC to understand that they need to transition from one state to another, and then
Damn,
enter
it's
into these
moving.
different environments. Another use case that we have is there are some situation, especially for some of the older legacy ships, right, or legacy environment that is not perfectly on metrics, and now we
Right.
can create some more ad hoc definition for this environment and still allow the NPC basically to correctly function without having to, modify basically the requirements for all the environment, but we can make ad hoc for different environment. As you see here, is like there is a perfect transition, or he understands that there is a transition between standing and crouching, and crouching and standing.
Yeah, and I would argue that the transitions look nearly like that looks really good.
And back. And also, as you see here, there is also the extension of the navigation links for the ladders as well. So NPC can now use ladders as a player does.
It just feels
and,
real until he started running in the crouch
For the
position.
folks who are watching on the live stream right now, the videos are all pre-recorded because we would lose half the show loading and unloading levels if we didn't pre-record the video. So the show is live. We're live. You can see me right now. Hi, I'm live.
What we can do next time is we can pick one of those options and show it live. That's
Jared, no one's questioning if the show's live.
well.
No one's questioning it.
Because this is cool, like you can also like select the character, middle click in the level, and they can just move around. I mean, I see here this is our editor as well.
Yeah.
He's getting one guide.
Yeah, we opted
By his
often do
own
these internal
jokes.
reviews. We often do the pre-recorded videos because again, you would just keep every director in the company, everybody just waiting while you're loading up one level and unloading another level and switching between builds and stuff. And it's just a much more efficient use of time.
I mean, we need to respect, a time frame even in the internal project update, right? Otherwise, it will
Bro, you guys have never respected a time frame in your life.
take too long.
Yep. So what's next?
These are a
man?
couple of improvements for locomotion as well that we did in the past months. So this is one thing that we had before. So when we use Orca as collision avoidance, and the problem is that we're seeing was that we were adding a bit too many constraints that would result basically into a modification of the speed at which a character should move to for the locomotion to handle it in a bit strange way, right? So in this case, he was trying to say like, oh, I should not hit the wall, but I should not hit the character, but there's not enough space. Let's go super slow. Eventually, I will pass through, and it was not really looking good. So we decided to relax a little bit some of those constraints, and it looks good. It looks much better. It looks much smoother. It will still avoid each other. We also have some additional work.
I mean, he's clipping through him. The arms are clipping through each other. That doesn't look that good, but I guess it's a compromise they decided to make, and I'm not going to judge them on it.
Here that we've done sometime in the past where the capsule that defines the characters, especially if they get stuck for different reasons, because maybe also players will stand still there. They can
Okay, now I'm going to get one guide. I like how they're using VLC, a free media player, and then shell ships for 100s if thousands. So because they make money, they should spend money on a very expensive video player? What? Think this
shrink and enlarge based on when we
VLC is like commonly known as like one of the better just players. It plays all sorts of media. It's a good, like, you don't really run into any issues with VLC. That's why they're using it. Like,
when we find
where's the logic there? I don't even get it.
situation, we try to make it look better, as best as we can. And then these are other things that we had in the past that where we had a lot of harsh stops into idle. So the characters we just immediately stop and then play the idle. That looks not that natural. So we work a lot on adding sharp turns, start and stops.
That looks good.
Especially for characters. So as he is like it looks much more natural. I didn't have like a proper sharp turn video to show this time, but they're really similar. So we can basically process the path, decide where some of those animation can play at best, and then relax a little bit the constraint of stopping exactly in that spot.
That's Squadron 42 armor?
They just need to stop, basically, right? For no.
Yeah. But it's like nothing crazy. It doesn't look like it just looks like an engineer or something.
Specific reason.
It's one of those things that I don't think is always completely understood how important animation is to AI. Like,
Oh, it's all basically it's the majority of the AI part because it just sells what the character is doing, right? And I think as we see right now as well, it's like a lot of the issues that we have, right, in PU and we are working on for Squadron is really to make sure that this situation don't happen because if you don't see anything obviously wrong, then it's like you don't really know why it took that path or not. It might actually absolutely make sense from a human perspective, but if it stops like that, it really doesn't make sense.
right.
And this will make it really look good. But also just the sharp turns, for example, that we are working on right now. We have it working for lots of the stuff. It does makes the flow so much more natural for the moment.
They look good.
I have these other ones that
From the animation side,
Andrea's been working on.
From the animation side of things, it's really good.
So we started with the idea of we wanted to have hazards for AI, and then AI, being aware of that. But the way we implement it, and in these videos, most of the time it's called navigation cost volumes. In reality, those are something we want to rename a little bit. It's probably going to be a layout modifier or topology modifier. And then they also have additional functionality to also influence the path. So,
okay, the exclusion thing, so they don't get stuck on things because they really were getting stuck on things.
Like completely empty in a mesh.
Thank you, Irritated.
And once you basically you can define some areas that basically enforce.
That's one of the coolest things about streaming is someone like Irritated. I've never talked to him before. That was his first time chat, and he comes in. So he watches the streams. I never mentioned that I'm going to be going full-time streaming and making YouTube content today. And he wished me luck, and he said back to lurking. So there's so many people that are like watching, just hanging out, and you just don't even know that they're there. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are awesome.
A specific topology.
Thank you.
With specific triangulation. So this allows you to modify and enforce specific triangles in specific locations. On top of those triangles, you can define what is the meaning of this area. For example, it could be a danger, it could be something they would prefer to be in. It's something that they might just avoid because, I don't know, based on the behavior. For example, an area is less likely to be traversed. I don't know, I'm just thinking if I'm, I don't know, if I'm in a, like there's an area where people are doing specific operation, and when they are doing it, maybe it's very noisy, and then people would try to avoid it in that situation. So those areas can be either statically placed or dynamically created. And
seems like a lot of work
today. So as you see here, there's a configuration that you can select, and basically the color that you see here, it just shows the different. Basically, each color has a different configuration. It's assigned to a different configuration dynamically. You see the ID 0 is the regular cost, and ID 2 is more costly. So then we have some debug throw that can show the path that gets generated. And as you see, whenever we are trying to go from one side to another, it usually, based on the length of the path, it tries to avoid it. And when it cannot avoid because it's still cheaper from the algorithm to pass through, it tries to cut it as straight as it can, basically try to minimize the time in which he is in the more costly area.
The time it would take, the damage they would take.
Thank you for subbing as well.
Yes. Or
Irritated. Or gifting, getting gifted a sub. There you go. Thank you, Saltine.
We are basically we are working on right now is like that there are additional things into consideration. For example, it's not just that one is a fire hazard, but we also...
this is a generic AI thing. I have no idea why they didn't make it before. It's Pathfinding 101. They just... I don't want to say they just. I think it was in the first 3.17 patch. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But this is like nav mesh on planets. So it was like having it work on planets was the thing that I think slowed all this down. Is like they made procedural planets. That's like a weird thing. And then they needed to do the nav mesh on the planets in a game engine that doesn't do that. So it took them forever to do that. And now they're like, okay, next step, pathfinding. So like we're seeing like the one step at a time, even though these things are happening in year 10, it's kind of like a what the hell experience. Why is this happening in year 10? And why didn't this happen in year 1? Because procedural planets didn't happen in year 1.
So we consider it's like what are my properties.
Karinos, thank you as well. Thank you for your
prime. There's a special suit, right? That doesn't get damaged with that. There's I don't know a chemical in the area.
I'm not making excuses for them. It's just like
hazard suit, and then
it's just what it is, I guess.
So basically,
so we can
So basically, what you're doing is, it's after when the
Thank you,
level's been
Kyrinos.
designed by a
Thank you.
level designer, you can go through and you'll mark up the nav mesh and be like, and the cost is like a risk assessment. It's a if I go through here, it's going to cost me in life or in time or in discomfort or in resource or oxygen or whatever
Exactly.
the thing is. It's all a matter of when you say cost, it's the cost to that AI in not
Yes, it's
achieving their goals.
Exactly. The cost that is usually with a pathfinder, that is a combination of the actual distance they need to pass through, but then the distance gets, weighted also based on additional value. And this one, but it's like, for example, also in this case, you can see some more, the back row examples where, the eye really can pass through corridors with wall work, simulating at the time to be an hazard. But we have use cases for this one for multiple things. One can be, for example, imagine you want to have pedestrian that goes on the sidewalk,
Right.
and they try to not be on the road unless they really have to, and they might cross only
Okay.
the crossroads. So you can actually mark up this environment. We also want to get it, completely automatic, so that they can really try to do that extraction of features, information, on the environment, in an automatic way. This is with the static one. This always allows designers to manually place this information and mark it up. For example, there is a bonfire on PU, whatever, and that will never turn off, right? It's always there. We can just mark it up and say this is a bit more costly, for example. But the interesting part is the second part, that this is really like from this sprint. It's super new. We actually didn't even show it yet, the view update. So this is like, people will see it even earlier than other directors. But basically what it is here is like, this is the combination of dynamic generation of cost modifiers, or topology modifiers, plus the additional cost coming from the game code, that is associated with specific dangers. So in this case, the fire. So through the UI interface, you can see that we can simulate, basically turning on fire on things that can ignite. And as soon as something ignites, basically the system notifies us of the area.
Burn the Pico. Yes, burn it.
And we can dynamically generate these cost modifiers, regenerate an mesh, and then the cost gets propagated, basically. So you see when the fire turns off, the RS basically disappears. These are the shapes of the fires that we get notified of, that we use for our calculation. And then at the end, we will show how the characters can navigate through the environment, with fire, with dynamic fire. And this, like, designers basically don't have to set up anything, because players can turn, fire everywhere, or, NPCs could do it as well. Something can go wrong, right, and explode them.
Right.
And it could be more fire.
And so the idea here is that with the different archetypes for the AI, you can have an AI that's incredibly cautious, and they would carefully avoid all the different hazards. Keep a low cost.
The AI archetypes. That's right.
Existence, and then
The
for
things
people,
that
the
we've
AI that were a little more cavalier,
only seen in updates.
a little more, I don't have anything to worry about. They might even choose
Also
to go
pass
through some of the fire, or if they're being very urgent, if they're emergency responders, they might choose to cut through the fire to get to where they're going as soon as possible.
Exactly. So these are an example, right? If, for example, you tell the AI to actually go inside the environment that is dangerous, they can still go. In this, you can see it here. Like, he's still entering the environment.
We're sort of seeing the fire propagate as well, too.
Because that's his goal, but he will try to avoid it until he can, basically. See, and then he goes in. Basically, what we want to add as well here now at the next sprint is this kind of the same tags cost modifiers that we use for navigation links. So we can tag them this intention that you are describing, but also say that it's not just the cost that gets influenced, but also some costs are so high that basically cause the blockage. So that because the problem with making the cost too high is also that we saturate the cost eventually, right? So then it has less impact. So for some situation, it's like, I don't want to go through at all. Like, I'm a civilian, I don't have, I don't know, anything that can protect me. I really should never go inside the fire. And then we can also make that happening, right? So that the pathfinding understands that that is really a no-go, and it needs to find another path if he can.
And then
Yeah, which we haven't seen in any of the updates yet.
Because it's dynamic, if the player sets fires, it creates new areas that cost more than the AI will avoid. And if the player extinguishes the fire, puts the fire out, the cost of those areas goes back down.
For example, imagine like a mission where you need to save somebody, right, from a building on fire. And then you have the guy that tries to pass through, but the pathfinder says that he can't. So you will always know that he's trying to escape or follow you, right? But he can't. And then we can react saying like, hey, you need to save me. You need to put off the fire before I can come with you. And then you can turn it off, and then he will dynamically find the path and follow you basically. This is all stuff that we will be able.
Hell, Minecraft has fire spread. Yeah, I mean a lot of games do. It's cool to see it in our game now. That's all. It's nothing. Like, not everything CIG does is like this insane thing. Like, I get more excited by the basic things that you see in other games coming to this one, because for so many years it was always about groundbreaking and nobody does this. Nobody would ever do this, that
That's
bullshit. Now they're finally doing things that are just in every other game. Like, awesome.
And to be completely clear, you said you hadn't shown that to Chris yet.
Chris has seen the previous one, but I don't think that he didn't see this one yet. Well, we published it for Chris, so probably he saw it yesterday night, but not officially with my presentation. So he saw just he might have seen the video, but the whole.
It doesn't happen often, but occasionally there's a moment where Chris sees something on ISE or SCL for the first time before he's seen it internally, and I get an email.
This is
I'm going on vacation next week, Chris.
I think this is basically a really interesting things. One thing that that Andreas experiment with, for example, is also to say, what if a troll is left around the environment, right? You don't really want to go so close to trolleys. We can use it with spaceships so that people try to avoid. We could use these things for.
AI should avoid spaceships. You ever walked behind an engine that's on in Star Citizen?
Cost of landing area when something is approaching. Right? So the NPC understands that, oh, now something's approaching. I can navigate this area, but not that close to the landing zone. The landing zone has a regenerate cost, but then when somebody is landing is even higher, for example. And do a lot of interesting mechanics with this.
Cool.
Also, it's good because it can allow us to modify the topology of the mesh. So it allows us to link, making navigation links there, enforcing that they exist.
And just because I can hear Mike Snowden in my ear, metaphorically anyway, the fire that you were seeing there is work in progress stuff for the AI team and stuff like this. It's not the final and finished effect. I would think I wouldn't need to say that, but I'm sure there's going to be somebody.
It's better. Yeah. I mean, these are all internal things, right? So, and how much time do we have still left?
We still got 30 minutes.
Cool. So let's go on the feature team, right? So AI is split right now into two groups. One is tech, where we usually work, and again, there's much more. These are some of the things that we selected.
Tech and feature teams.
And then there's the feature team that is more
AI usage of mounted gun, attack, defend area, axe, healer, reactor grenades, and box handling. Okay.
Focus on some of the behaviors and features that are directly impacting combat or different features. And let's start with accuracy, right? One thing is like this, what we call mercy time. So there is designers can basically control how much the AI basically is forgiving for the player doing something not correct. So in this case, for example, the player is really standing still in open environment, right? And the AI is shooting at him, but just to avoid that he kills him and he doesn't have a chance, like, his life is going down and his health is going down, and now next shot is probably gonna kill him. So when you see that is blue, the bug throw, the black in there is a hit chance value. So right now, for example, it's at 28%. First of all, our hit chance now, with the new changes that are not yet in PO, basically it builds up, right? So when I see a character, I'm initially not very accurate, and then I end up being with the accuracy designer set, and then I'm damaging you. Your health goes down until a certain moment where I give you a chance still to react and do something. And this is the mercy.
That's interesting. Also, just the idea of hit chance being low the first time you see them, they should never like snap and kill you.
Mercy dime, basically, as you see, it says mercy dime. Hit chance is 0, so the eye becomes inaccurate in that moment, and then you have a chance to react. If you don't,
Except all this happens at once when the server finally ticks.
Um,
Exactly.
and this is one thing, and then we also added basically a better
He
prediction.
said that was not in the PU right now, though.
What we have right now is because we are more accurately using aiming to actually shoot at the character, and then use just the missing from the accuracy. Now we can basically more correctly estimate where the player is gonna be in the future, so that we can try to hit him while he runs.
Oh,
And
good.
then the same accuracy,
That's
gets
scary.
applied basically from the regular calculation that we have. Say, for example, this distance, impacting you, or the time that they're seeing the character, the last time in which has been hiding, and all the stuff that we basically they all contribute to calculate the final accuracy that the character should have. For example, here this distance is much less accurate than when it goes close, and then you see when he's hitting basically and damaging the player.
Who recorded this video?
Alex.
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 Just sending Alex a message that says serpentine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Need to improve your tactics, Alex.
Yeah, this is like, these are very, this is an example where, for example, you can immediately see is like, these are really things that we do to test it, right? So like in this case, like, let's move, let's stop, right? Let's see if the accuracy is the same. I get damaged the same amount, then I can move again in that direction. But it's not really trying to.
What is the server address in the top right corner?
Really,
I don't know, but
stress out the system.
the top, their stuff up in the top usually doesn't matter very much because that's the editor. You can't relate what they have to our computers and game.
See how it goes. Let me show you like some work that WoW has done as well. That is enabling the usage of turret, like mounted guns. It's called turret, but the video, but it's actually mounted guns. So as you see, the character can go in mounted guns right now, so NPC can actually use it as the player. They will always try to aim at you. Everything uses the same accuracy that we, exposed.
Okay.
We just spoke about. There is prediction on those weapons, and accuracy effect based on the same values that designers have, so they can control the accuracy for the specific weapon, how it influences the NPCs, the speed at which. I think one thing that we probably will we will experiment with is also the speed at which the character moves. Not too much for FPS. I think usually characters move at a slower rate anyway. But
Can they use the I mean, those are the Valkyrie guns,
right,
essentially, right?
I think will give you more chance to survive.
Right.
Reaction to grenade is a very not internal test where we can show NPCs actually now perceiving grenades correctly, try to run away from it based on where they land, so they will react to it and they have a chance of running away, or they might still die out of it, of course.
A chance.
That's still
low chance.
It's still yeah. I mean, we can control it. We can control how quick they they run, how fast they react. We can control some of those things, and designers will have to tweak it so that it's not frustrating for the player.
Oh, oh crap! Did you see this guy? Watch this guy if it replays.
If they have a nice shot, like in this case, right? You want to have kind of the power on the game, otherwise it's not that fun. But some there is also like a nice thing that is like the NPC pretty much not some might turn a different direction, so they might not see the grenade. So some will see the grenade, it will shout, it will inform the other ones, and the other ones will react because one person saw the grenade. And of course some of those, just to be clear, are test behaviors as well, used for evaluating. It's not the actual combat sometimes, or like they go back to a test behavior, for example, just to be able to try it again, even once they are in combat. And some of those videos, when you see that they are not reacting always to the player, is also because we use a lot of CVARs that are internal controls that they are meant to also, not.
I mean, I'm God, we're like halfway through the video. I'm bored. This is all cool, but I'm bored.
or react to the player, for example, right? They react only to the grenade, but not to your vision and stuff like this, so we can test it a bit better.
Sure. We just answer a question in chat right now from Creeks. What is that? 17 says, "Why have they pinned the server status page when it had no updates?" Because that's where the updates would be and will be when there are updates.
Where is it?
Oh, it's not for you, Fran. I'm talking to the chat.
It's not for me. Okay, that's fair enough. No, I thought it was a question for me. And I was like, well,
no.
Cool. Another thing that we are doing, this is a lot for characters.
Why would we ask questions for you during this?
So these are NPCs that can actually systemically take.
Guys, this guy is going to load our ships. Now, I hope we see them using a multi-tool. That's got to be the next step after this.
Boxes, crates, and load them into your ship, load it into a trolley, and then use the trolley to move it. So
trolleys,
as you see here,
stop.
There's really like some cool features we worked on.
Stupid trolley.
All those things are usables. They actually pick up the boxes. They understand how to pick it up. They slot it into the trolley, so they understand that now there are different actions that they can do just because the crate is attached. So there are different metrics that we calculate for where you can put the box on. So right now, for example, the NPC understands that you need to put it on top of another box that is put on the trolley. This is all our slotting functionality, basically. It's like
regardless, this is the coolest part of the update for me.
It's slotted into that based on our description, and then they can basically use that. As you see, there is still that bug that I just recently fixed, so you will not see it anymore. Eventually, at least sometimes they walk on the spot. But like the character now understands that the trolley is full, and now he can unload the trolley and place it into some specific locations, so this eventually will be really useful for allowing an NPC to load and unload your ship.
Oh yeah, cargo elevators, big time. What are the green cylinders around?
And he knows to load it 3 high now. That's kind of cool.
So there are two things: the high, like the taller one. That one is what we call alignment slots. So it's where the NPC needs to be to perform a specific operation on the object that is on that location. And the small one are enter position. So that is where the actual animation start to arrive to the location of the alignment slot. And when it becomes red, it's because it's reserved and it's in usage in that moment, basically.
I feel like that's too tall to stack those boxes.
Yeah, you can do 3, you can stack 3 boxes one on top of the other, basically.
Yeah,
right,
three safely.
That we also have that they look very, very nice, right? You can really see that, the weight of the box and how they do it. They also, they're very careful with their back. Yeah. Try to stack it in the proper way. So
I love this update. I love this.
Are we sure that
cool.
form is proper? This looks
yes.
I could just see this. I mean, you could just totally tell what I'm bored by what I'm excited by, right? I imagine many of you are bored by this. So I think maybe that's more what it is like combat stuff in Star Citizen just bores me. Moving boxes, I don't know why, doesn't bore me as much.
It's training, safety training as well.
My lower back hurts just watching this.
But it's
Hey, Greg.
I think there is a lot of tech in this one, also enabling, disabling, for example, automatically use slots that are allowed to be done. For example, in this case, when it's pushing the trolley, you automatically disable.
Yeah, it's my logistics like itch. I like that.
Pick up the box, for example, right? You don't want that somebody takes the box from the trolley that you are just moving around. And then, you can have also multiple people loading at the same time and only one, pushing the trolley. So it's, you see, pushing the trolley disables the ability to take load boxes into and these are really this is why they're gray, for example. These are gray because they are disabled in that moment. And in this case, he's taking it, right? So he will disable while he's taking it. The push, so somebody cannot remove the trolley while you are taking it already, right?
Yeah, that's why it's grayed out.
Thinking about how this works with, or will work with, volatile cargo. Like, will they be very gingerly moving, doing it at half speed?
The thing is like, this is also an extreme waste of time, in my opinion, doing it this way. What person goes without a tractor beam attachment in Star Citizen. Like in a realistic, like I think the way the current Star Citizen player base plays, I think most players would consider a tractor beam essential. Then most AI should probably consider a tractor beam essential then, right? Especially if you're working that job specifically. Don't you think a tractor beam would just be like automatic? Wouldn't it make more sense to spend the time and energy on making that AI use the tractor beam first? Maybe, but what if it needs additional tech to be able to do that? My guess is, you know, my experience around Star Citizen is there's some tech work or some what is it called? Dependency that another team would need to do in order for this to work right. So screw it. He's picking up the boxes, right? So I guess that it is what it is there, but I don't know.
Mhm. I think there will be also a bit of support that we need to do for.
I just think like there's zero way that 1,000 years in the future, some dude's just going to be picking up and dropping boxes off of a trolley that has wheels. Like that is like one of the things, like the trolleys are still one of the most triggering things they've ever done.
The tractor beam eventually there.
All right.
Because I think there will be a lot of bigger crates that they will not be really
Moto,
able
I think they are doing that.
to grab
The power cell
At
thing.
least in,
like that.
at least in the
But
early
this is very
iterations.
physical. Yeah, exactly.
So Moto said, Mike, what if they plan to make tractor beams use power cells so they no longer last forever, making extended use inefficient? I mean, they have a battery icon on the multi-tool, so we think it's going to go there at some point. It's just a matter of when, not if.
But these are very physical interaction with the world, that our system allow, and it's really interesting from my perspective at least.
Yeah.
So this is like good job of Chris. And then
That is cool, though, that update. Just weird.
Yeah, some attack and defend area. These are other things that we call assignments. I think I explained it in the past sometimes, but just for people that are not familiar with it, it's assignments are basically a sort of commands that we can give to NPCs, right? So we can ask them to defend an area, attack a target, defend myself, move to a location, load a box into somewhere else, or clean up an area of something that they need to clean. What is good is these commands can either be exposed to, for example, the designers in the mission, but they can also be used, for example, from wingman commands, right? You can hire somebody, and then from the UI, you can code the exact same logic.
Okay,
that
now
the designer
we're,
would ask the AI for specific operations, right? So it's purely like it's all systemic. It's just like our description of how the NPCs can perform specific operation.
Now we're in
In this
Imagine
case,
Land.
for example, there are just a couple of examples of attack and defend areas. So this is an attack area. So what it does, he can move into an area that is supposed to attack, and then he will go around and search for these areas, for example. The designer can specify the speed, so the urgency that the NPC needs to use to move into the attack area.
We never
Again,
left. True.
Be far and rushing into. They can say walk slow. Eventually, we can also expose like a different range that can be used for different distances. But you see, like in this case, it's like kind of gives sells the intention of you need to rush into this area and attack or defend. For what it means. And the attack area basically also means that this is all embedded into a peaceful section of the behavior and a combat section, right? So some of these commands can have a version that happens when no target or no enemy is present. And in this case is, okay, if I need to attack an area and I don't see any enemy, what do I need to do? First of all, I need to try to arrive into the area. If I need to defend it, I should just defend it, stay there in a defensive position. But then there is also the fact that you can transition into combat. Some of these assignments can have their own version of the combat, but they can also just influence the regular combat behavior. In this case, an attack area, what it does especially is influencing the target selection. So it will always try to prioritize the targets that are in that area to perform that operation. And designers can also switch dynamically which area it's going to be used, so that the target will change, and the NPC can actually select
Why did it
the new
switch?
targets. And then once there are no targets in the area, of course, other targets can also be selected outside the area as well, because they still make a threat. And the defend area as well. For example, this is a bit of the transition I was telling you. Like characters can be told to move, to a defend area, but also it might already be in combat.
Oh, that
So
was
once
with
they're
the
in
given
combat, they can be
command.
told,
Ah.
oh, you should go into defend area. So what it will do is it will basically modulate his combat behavior so that he can move into a nice location to defend that area, but without forgetting what he was doing before, right? And in this case was, I'm still attacking that enemy, and I should still remember that unless a new enemy that is more important comes up, right? But then you can switch it, and then, for example, this area is a bit overlapping, right? So you will try then after to find some nice cover into that area. If they overlapped, he could also stay in the same cover, and so on and so on.
Right. So it's like, I hate this person, and I'm being told I have to go defend this area, but I'm gonna see if I can do both.
I'm still trying to do both, exactly, until absolutely, because again, in this case, of course, in this test case, as you see, like this is always something, a nice feature that Chris has been working on. And when we test, we also don't want to risk that he dies. So, we have this guy, even like, it's a civilian, completely, he cannot react. I think it possibly was even outside the mesh, or something like this, but it might just be like a dummy player, what we call that is a simulation of a player that doesn't really, it's not another NPC.
This is like Mass Effect 10 years ago. Yeah, this is nothing monumental. This is just these are basic things. And the weird thing for me is that all of these things are like, I would imagine we're in crisis.
Because you can also,
big takeaway from this video, they're nowhere near done with Squadron. Exactly. Like, how can you look at this and go, guys, I think we're gonna get Squadron, holiday 2023,
take it and move it and see if he reacts correctly.
No chance.
What did we show? The healer is the
also
last one, something that Jake has been working on.
Again, but it's always the combat stuff that I'm just like, okay, not interested. But the guy's moving boxes and I'm hyped about it. So I'm trying to like chill out a little bit more, because maybe that's what it is more than just
internal things and
whatever. But
are definitely not final. These are majority of those animations are just blockouts that we use to verify the flow. So just be aware of that.
That's sick.
There's some med pen usage, like so that NPCs can actually react. One thing that you see is like, you don't expect the guy to go revive this guy, but these are test behaviors, so they don't respect any distance, right? They are really meant for us to make sure that we
stabs him right in the dingus. Yep.
Test the flow. So the character
right in the jewels,
him, and then he goes back into combat. Obviously, I would never expect an NPC to go close to a target like that to revive his friend that just died, right? Because he will die immediately after. Majority of those, might even be, like the player right now is in God mode as well, so he will not die himself. This is another case where if you don't have the trait that you cannot revive him, you can also send a request for a medic, and then the medic, again, this case is coming really close because we're testing it, but in general, the medic might try to revive people that they require, in the right moment, if they are respecting the rules, like being far from the target, for example, being, a bit more hidden positions. But as you see here, for test purpose, the guy comes in, he has a med pen, he goes because he can revive, the other guy cannot. So he comes in. I mean, obviously, we try to shoot me because it's forced. As you see here, we are just forcing a little bit in this situation. They were just blockouts animation for that. The character doesn't have a gun, so he might find the gun back, he takes it, and then he will fight with
that looks good.
Weapons that he found. So what happens in the healer flow is that was revived, or based on being downstate, it could also be that he is just not properly.
I think for me, it's anything that isn't just like basic mechanics, even though reviving is somewhat basic. I think it's like a level above just attacking and defending areas and
damage, but it's
searching
just,
and I don't know.
being put into an unconscious
That was
state.
that was
But,
an
when
interesting
when you
one
go
for
down,
me.
you lose your weapon. So the first thing you do
Hope
is
to see
try
that
to
soon.
get back into a state where you can,
Agreed.
get back another weapon.
First time chatter, disco parachute. All this AI stuff is not going to work as intended in the PU. 100%. 100%. Unfortunately, you're right.
And this is another reason why you don't expect this to happen very close to the target, because otherwise you revive somebody, comes back in, is next to the target, they will die again. It doesn't even have a weapon, right? So this will happen, you might see it happening on the background or a bit far away, and you have to make sure that, you put pressure on the eye so that they don't revive each other as well.
Yeah. So we've only got a few minutes left before we let you go, Fran. Yeah. We'll go ahead and open it up to some questions from chat. If you have a question that's AI related for our AI director, you can go ahead and put it in the Twitch chat. Preface it with the
when is server meshing?
word question. It helps me pick it out from the other thing. And again, AI related. I understand that many folks are struggling to get in. They're struggling with the 40.014 error, whichever number it is. Unfortunately, that's not an AI related error. Yeah. It's like, nor is it a video error. So you have the two of us this week on the show. We're not the ones who can tell you about that, which is why we're always.
And this, for me personally, is one of the issues that I have with their video content. Is Jared is the face, Jared is the mouth of the Star Citizen company, essentially, and yet it's always passing the buck off to some static web page that gets updated occasionally. And I really do kind of run into this issue of Jared not being a community manager has always been a really weird concept and always something I've never understood and never liked about what they did. Xylo not being on camera more often as lead community manager is another one. I know I think Xylo personally just doesn't like to be on camera, but it's just this thing that I just never understood is the not my department, guys, so sorry about that. You should be briefed on exactly what's going on, explain to the community what the issues are, what they're working on to resolve it, and give an update every week on Star Citizen Live about where you are, where things are going. He just goes the 40,000 error or whatever number it is. That, it's been 3 weeks, the game's, you're not able to log in. He did this really heartfelt apology, which now certainly looks forced as fuck when I hear things like that, right? It's just I don't know. I don't like it.
Linking people to the status.robertspaceindustrials.com website. That's where you're going to find those sorts of informations and stuff. The biggest question, before I even have to look at the thing, Fran, is you've shown us a lot of examples of AI behaviors that are growing, that are becoming more complex.
Check the roadmap for updates on issues logging into the game. GW Glory, good one.
But we don't often see those behaviors in the live game. Is that
good question?
I want you to talk about why that is. Is that just strictly bugs, or is that server performance stuff?
It's a combination of things. First of all, I think we have a lot of streams right now, right? Not a lot, but we have few streams. And whenever we stabilize something, right, not all the new changes go in immediately into that stream. So, for example, in 3.18, you have some of this stuff, and this is where, for example, people see a very high accuracy, because not all the accuracy work is yet in there. For example, we don't have the mercy time. We don't have yet in 3.18 the build-up of accuracy over time. Some of the balancing, needs to. One thing I'm always saying is it's very hard to balance the eye for the server that goes at 30 frames per second or a really low frame rate. So sometimes some of those values are trying to compensate for some of the low frame rate, but then it don't work very well for 30 frames per second or 25 frames per second. That is where people see the accuracy is also very high there, to try to help in some situations, but of course the long run, that's not what we want.
Yeah.
Some of these behaviors as well would come with integrations, because
I have to respond to this, even though this is an important thing. I disagree. This show is about AI. The video guy or AI guy isn't involved in any of that. Jared isn't a community manager. You didn't listen to a thing I just said. I think Jared should have been a community manager. The separation of the roles makes no sense to me, because You know why? Because people are constantly going into the channel and asking for community and game related updates. And when your viewer base or your consumer base is telling you that this is a need that needs to be filled, I think it makes sense to fill it. And that's my opinion on that. And you're not going to change my mind on it. Nobody is. Now let's get back to like the actual important thing, which is why AI is so bad, basically.
Many integration from the streams we work on into what we call game dev, and then from game dev goes into the live stream. Whenever we can, we try, of course, to integrate as quickly as possible. But some of those behaviors might have dependency on other departments' work as well. For example, I don't know, changes on the actor state machine, or how the specific state works, or on animations that are yet, as I've shown you, there might be white box, right? And those are not yet ready to be on the live release. So we cannot enable all those behaviors. I think there's been some videos that I've seen from PU, for example, of the reacting to dead bodies that we were using in PU, some of the white box animation that were not playing correctly. There's one case where we usually disable these behaviors, and if they especially if they're wrongly enabled from our inclusion.
I've never seen an AI react to a body.
It's like we want to enable them only once all the directors involved in the feature are happy with, right? Because we don't want to show necessarily. I think this is also a nice preview, but everybody involved into this one wants to have his work shown as best as possible. And then, of course, there are also sometimes
you did it SPK. Interesting.
Some of the things that I want to see is a bit of the reaction, how we can speed up a bit of the reaction time, also on low frame rate servers, so that we can get a bit better experience from our players. Because we see like this large difference in experience from people that play a high frame rate server and a low frame rate.
You see a dramatic difference in the capabilities of the AI, especially like during Siege of Orison when you jump into a fresh server.
Absolutely.
You jump into a fresh server in Siege of Orison is devastating.
So deadly.
And then
I think we need to, we really want to have like a more balanced experience, right? It's not that we don't want, but it's it's a little bit about.
Yeah, but we just want them to make servers for, like, the AI guy looks stupid every day because the servers are so bad.
Sometimes some of those features needs to happen first in regular development, because you unblock other people to basically prototype their missions, prototype their levels, right? And it's not that the other part is not important to make sure that also the live experience is important, but sometimes you need to have an harsh decision. You say, do you want to unblock those guys? Do you want to block these other guys? And you need to take with the resources you have, you need to decide how to allocate those resources, right? For the greater good. But we are working hard to make it sure that everybody can experience those behaviors, because this is what, we want you guys to play with and give us feedback about.
From Amadeus in the chat, how do you assure that AI will not break when their routine or behavior is interrupted by the players? Players would never mess with AI. They would never kidnap mission givers. They would never load them on the ship and take them to the other side of the star system. That doesn't happen.
So we have different ways of doing that, of course. So let's say you have a routine behavior of, a janitor. So a lot of our behaviors, of course, make sure that, you need to have specific things to perform the operation, so you can check what you have. Let's say combat starts, right? And then the janitor loses, needs to react. So he drops out his mop, his broomstick, or, his bucket, whatever. Then we always need to make sure that the same way as if the janitor starts from scratch, he he needs to be able to pick up those things, or he cannot perform specific operation, right? So of course, if the player steals all the broomsticks from the environment, well, he won't be able to get that. But we can always also allow some specific other AI coming from spawn closet and bringing back those things, or having specific usable that can still provide the NPCs with the required objects that they need to have, or to perform specific behaviors that they can restock specific objects that they require before they can do the other behaviors. And
dude, what happens when server mission comes out and the servers still suck? Like we've kind of had that carrot being held in front of our heads that like you're gonna have good running servers after server meshing.
Then the other part is, of course, being sure their state. For us, there are different
Like
parts.
when-
Not just the player.
When does the inevitable
influencing
riot
behavior,
happen?
but
with
eventually
this
it could be,
game,
for example,
you know?
an NPC
People are gonna freak out at
transitioning
some
from one
point.
server to another because maybe it's not necessarily kidnap, but maybe it's just performing its duty on your ship, and in that case, your ship can change, server. And we also need to make sure that consistency, it's propagated for its behavior. So a lot is building those behavior in the right way, and allowing the transition between the different states, from what you need, what you can perform, basically.
From Fish19, they asked,
Is this live?
Could AI commit crimes and get a crime stat?
They could, and they can also give crime stats. This is one thing that we want to do as well, right? So if you bother, too much, civilians, then they could call the police, and that one might trigger, crime stats for you, or so maybe the guards or policemen can actually, have specific. We have that one already with spaceships control. Like I think we have the checks that sometimes some spaceship can do on the cargo that you carry around, and they can give you crime stats. But then we have, for example, in in the plan to have the thief behavior. So maybe you can actually make sure that it gets triggered. It's their crime, and then police reacts to them performing the crime.
There's a couple different versions of this question that came in. I'll read the one from Kaon, by the way. That's their name. What does an AI do if it runs out of ammunition?
So we have different things. When you run out of ammunition, you first try to switch to your sidearm, right? Because you might have a sidearm or a secondary arm weapon that you can use.
Never seen that.
If you cannot do anything, basically they try to survive, right? So they can try to run, stay in cover, and continuously try to search if they find a location where they.
I think the AI just in the current game just have never-ending ammo.
Can loot ammos. So this is always going through the slotting information and slotting functionality that we have. So weapons can be found on the ground and you can pick them up. So now we have this functionality where you can pick up objects that are on the ground, as you've seen in the healer. The animation was blocked out, of course, so it's not like correctly positioned, but basically.
Oh my god, his webcam's like my old webcam, like attached to a monitor on a desk that is kind of wobbly, and it's just like wobbling like crazy.
Something that is not perfectly aligned. They can take it from different locations. Maybe there's a weapon rack. They can go to the weapon rack and grab a weapon. And then they can loot bodies. So they can grab weapons or ammos from bodies or from, magazines that might be contained into a crate.
Are you the only one that hears the breathing?
On the ground.
No.
So
we've just been watching videos with Jared for the last 10 years. So we're used to hearing the breathing.
They have like a flow where they find the search for something that is, in a good position, it's not too close to targets and stuff like this, and then they can grab it and use it and reload and use the new weapon basically and switch to the new weapon. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part now of the way that they're doing questions is Jared is on the Twitch app on his iPad, scrolling up and down through chat, so only getting the most recent questions, and pausing the chat, and then missing all the older ones.
In the folks who have been reading the monthly report, I lost who said this, I'm sorry.
Look, I lost it.
Folks who have been
right?
reading the monthly report have seen mention of
Not
Apollo,
a good system.
as a new term that's got, they're used to hearing about subsumption, but now they're hearing about Apollo. Can you tell us real quick what Apollo is?
Yeah, so basically we have two, it's always subsumption, but basically we have two different tools. One that is internal tool, basically exactly embedded. Maybe we can show it in one session, but basically it's the internal tool in our editor. So what it means is we want to be able to reference things directly in the
I do that too. I don't take
with the external
questions.
tool, we couldn't do it, so we always had like a bit of additional information that were the platforms that were supposed to expose information to the external tool. This one is basically meant to streamline a little bit the usage of subsumption creation data, basically. So you can create activities and missions in the internal tool. You can create platforms. And the idea is that all the internal data gets automatically propagated to the tool without us having to necessarily expose it to the external tool and then use an external tool to do these operations. Apollo also includes some other features that the external tool didn't have. For example, the editing of the master graph that Fadi has been working on. Michael and Fadi are our programmers that are focused on a lot on tools and subsystems. And it will also have, like, for example, we have a different view for missions, where in the external tool you have one graph for each logic, and now we have kind of a large graph for the missions where you can see the different blocks. You can collapse them, and then automatically understands what you're linking to. So you can still create different files that people work on at the same time, but also is a little bit more streamlined. You have the full picture of your mission in there. But basically, yeah, it's our internal subsumption tool. Is what basically is meant to grow into giving us more power for editing missions, for example. Like one thing that we want to do in the future is like OC that can include automatically missions, so we can actually reference data directly from the level.
I spaced out what he's talking about. I don't know.
Two quick two questions and we'll let you go. From Shark's Bite says, will an NPC ever be able to take my med gun off me and revive me?
So yes. So if you have friends, NPC that are meant to support you, like what we call buddy eyes, that's one of the things we're working on. And it's exactly the fact that if he knows that you are his friend and you are dead, then he might either use his med pen or he might find a med pen in the environment. That might actually be attached to you. So it will loot you, take your med pen.
That's kind of cool.
And then, use it on you to revive you.
And then last but
that's already possible technically. It's the behavior now that we want to work on.
And last, anything
already
you can tell us
possible
about bartender?
Yes, bartender. No. I said a lot of.
No, don't answer the question.
No, hours about bartenders. No, it's too much.
That's it. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us this week, Fran. It's always pleasure. It's always nice. We didn't get to chat a whole lot when I was over in Frankfurt, so we've been trying to find a time where we can get together and do this. I think we originally planned this episode out like 8 or 9 weeks ago, and we finally, made calendars and everything work. That's it for this week's episode of Star Citizen Live. If you haven't already, be sure you check out Inside Star Citizen yesterday. That's our end of the quarter sprint
8 or 9
report
weeks
for
ago,
Q1
by the way.
2023. Inside Star Citizen is going on its regularly scheduled hiatus. That'll be offline for about the next 4 weeks.
Now it's 4 weeks? Oh my God. What am I going to do? I look forward to ISC so much every week. I think I know, like, I kind of think I understand. Like, this is when he travels to Frankfurt. They gather all the video, they do all the interviews, and then they schedule everything out and like make the video. So I think it's like all the information gathering, then they decide how they want to do things, and then they put the videos out. And, the day or week of, Jared does the hosting part of it. The hosting part of it is probably the single smallest part of his job, right? I wish there was a better way. And I think the better way for us was a very bad way for them. And I think that's why the really kind of super up-to-date, look over the shoulder of the dev as they're literally working on this thing, updates are just gone forever. And it sucks. But 4 weeks, dude. It feels like the dude is just on vacation, but I think he's actually doing the most work during the 4 weeks, and then he's just doing the posting bullshit.
This show is taking a week off. Next Friday is a holiday. I think it's Good Friday. Yeah. Everybody's shaking their head. I have no idea. Is it, Fran? Is that what it is?
It's Good Friday.
Okay. Good Friday. So next week is a holiday. So I don't know. They told me I had a day off, so I'm going on vacation. I'm going to take off, and I'm going to take some time off. If you're in Paris tomorrow, there's a bar citizen in Paris tomorrow. You can join Mark Gibson and Christian Schmidt and some other folks whose names are escaping me right now, and myself at a bar citizen in Paris. The details are on the website. I don't know. It's in my email. I'm just going to go where they tell me. And then there's another bar citizen next week in Manchester. I think there's one in Phoenix going on this weekend. That
Zylo went to Phoenix.
Tyler Wicken, Director of Community, is at. So you can check that out if you haven't already. And then we'll be back here in 2 weeks with another Star Citizen Live, and then we'll be back with more Inside Star Citizen.
Holy shit, so next week there's no content. Zero, literally zero.
In a month. Be sure you check out, you keep an eye on the Star Citizen socials and the robertsspaceindustries.com website for details on 3.18.1.
Hopefully the game starts working.
Potentially going to PTU sometime. All the bug fixes. I don't know what else to say about the 40.014 and stuff like this. It's the right people are on the right job. I am not the right people. So, those folks are working on that stuff. They will give you the updates when they have them. They're always there. I'm in this little chat right here. Look, I'll show you the chat. Boop. The chat right there, where they're constantly like, we've got this, and then the diffusion router is doing that, and then the cache clearing is doing that, and they're tracking these things down and getting them fixed one by one until they get.
Okay, that's great. I mean, again, I think that there's a point at which when the game is this bad that this person who is on a platform that does engage with the community needs to take the time out to get the update of exactly what's happening, and then what they comfortably want to share and how they want to share it, and then share that information on the one weekly Star Citizen Live that we do get. Maybe at the beginning of the show, maybe at the end of the show. This was an AI update with an AI person. Focus on that person while you're there. But at the beginning or at the end, I think that there should be a general Star Citizen. Hey, guys, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. When things are great, things are great. When things are not great, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing to fix it, and hopefully it'll be fixed soon. It doesn't have to be much more than what he just said here, but I think a little bit more updates into, hey, we're still trying to nail down the 40,000 errors. He's just very aloof about it because he doesn't know anything about it, and I would just like to see more of. More there, I guess. I don't know.
To the point where things will hopefully return to where we all want them to be. So for Star Citizen Live, I'm Jared. That was Fran. I'm going on vacation. Can I see if this fits? Take my glasses off. Hold on. I'm out of here. Enjoy your time. Be safe. Be kind to one another. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Cool. AI. Exciting. Glad we watched that. Part of it, I'm glad I watched. The box stacking was cool, and the med stuff was cool. Those are the two things that I liked. Let me know what you like, but those are the two things I liked. The combat stuff, whatever. Seems pretty basic to me.